You know that question you ask yourself probably every single morning? Why am I so tired? If you feel like you're constantly just running on empty, well, you are in exactly the right place. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the real, science-backed reasons you feel that way, and, most importantly, what you can actually do about it starting today. Does this sound a little too familiar? You did everything by the book. You went to bed on time, you got your solid 8 hours, you even had that morning coffee. And yet somehow by 10 a.m., that wave of exhaustion just hits you like a ton of bricks and you're already fantasizing about a nap. If that's you, you need to know. You are not alone, and it's definitely not some personal failing. And that really brings us to the whole point of what we're talking about today. The answer to being so tired is almost never as simple as just sleep more. You got to think of exhaustion as a really complex signal your body is sending you, and our job is to figure out how to translate what it's saying. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start building our energy back up from the ground floor. We'll begin with the foundation, the daily habits that we actually have the most control over and, frankly, have the biggest impact on how we feel every day. So, here's a crucial idea that might just flip what you think you know about sleep on its head. When it comes to rest, quality absolutely crushes quantity, every single time. Look at this. 9 hours of broken, fragmented sleep is way less restorative than 6 hours of solid, deep sleep. Why? Well, it's because your brain has to go through these specific cycles, scientists call it sleep architecture, to do all its important cleanup work. And every time you're interrupted, that whole process has to start over.
So how do we protect that precious sleep quality? The research points to a few game changers. First, a consistent wake-up time, yes, even on the weekends, is just massive for setting your body's internal clock. Second, cutting out alcohol a few hours before bed is key because it seriously messes with your deep sleep. And yep, a cool room really helps your body lower its core temperature, which is an essential trigger for getting into and staying in that deep sleep.
Okay, here's a factor that so many of us completely forget about: water. I know, it sounds too simple, right? We think of dehydration as something that only happens when you're lost in the desert. But even being just a little dehydrated, we're talking 1 or 2%, can have a huge effect on your energy levels.
And check this out. This chart from a University of Connecticut study shows you exactly why this matters. Just look at the impact of being mildly dehydrated. Fatigue skyrockets, concentration totally tanks, and your mood takes a nosedive. What's happening is your blood gets a little thicker, so your heart has to work way harder to pump oxygen to your brain. The fix? It's so simple. Start your day with a big glass of water before you even think about coffee.
All right, get ready for a total paradox. This is one of those things that sounds completely backwards, but the science is crystal clear on it. When you feel tired, the absolute last thing you feel like doing is moving your body. But that very lack of movement is what's trapping you in a cycle of fatigue.
Just look at that number, 65%. A major study found that sedentary people who just started doing some low-intensity exercise, and we're talking about a brisk walk, nothing crazy, reported a 65% decrease in their fatigue levels. What's happening is that exercise literally builds more tiny energy factories called mitochondria inside your cells, so you have to spend a little energy to make a whole lot more. Okay, so let's say you've dialed in your sleep, you're drinking water, you're moving your body, but you are still feeling totally drained. Now what? Well, that's when it's time to stop looking at your habits and start looking under the hood. Your body might be sending you some pretty important internal signals.
This table breaks down 3 of the most common biological reasons for persistent fatigue. You can think of it like this. Iron is all about getting oxygen to your cells. Blood sugar is about giving those cells stable fuel. And your thyroid, that's the master regulator of your entire metabolism. If any one of these is out of whack, your energy is going to suffer. And the really important thing here is that you need to talk to a doctor to figure these out.
Let's just focus on iron for a second, because this is huge. We're talking about the most common nutritional deficiency on the entire planet, and it's especially common for women. If you don't have enough iron, your body just can't move oxygen around efficiently. Your muscles, your brain, everything is basically being starved of the energy it needs to function.
Okay, now for the stuff that's kind of unique to our modern lives. Even if your habits are perfect and your blood work is great, these 2 modern-day energy vampires can drain your battery every single day.
This is something we really need to get straight. Mental exhaustion is physical exhaustion. They're not 2 different things. That feeling of being totally wiped out after a really stressful day at work, that's not just in your head. When you're constantly stressed, your body is flooded with the hormone cortisol.
It's basically keeping you in a low-grade fight-or-flight mode all day, which just burns through your physical energy reserves.
And a perfect example of this is something called decision fatigue. Think of your brain's focus like a phone battery. Every single choice you make, all day long, what to wear, what to have for lunch, how to word that email, it drains that battery just a little bit. By 3 in the afternoon, after hundreds of those tiny decisions, you're running on empty.
And then we have the other big one, our screens. That bright blue light blasting out of your phone, your laptop, your TV, it's sending a really powerful signal to your brain. It's basically like you're staring into a miniature sun, telling your brain, hey, it is daytime, do not get sleepy. And that directly shuts down the production of melatonin, which is the key hormone that tells your body it's time to wind down.
The good news is you can totally fight back against this. This simple 3-step plan can make a world of difference. Turn on night mode on all your devices. Seriously, just do it. Then, try to create a screen-free buffer 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Swap that late-night scrolling for a book or a podcast. Let your brain actually wind down.
Okay, wow, we've covered a ton of ground, right? We've gone from daily habits to internal hormones to our phones. So now, let's pull it all together into a really simple, actionable plan. Here is what you can do with all this information starting right now.
If you have really been working on your habits for a few weeks, and that bone-deep fatigue just isn't getting any better, this slide is your toolkit. Take this with you to your doctor's office. Don't just go in and say, I'm tired. Go in and ask for specific tests. This list right here covers the most common culprits behind that stubborn, persistent fatigue.
And that really brings us to our final, most important thought. Let's try to completely reframe how we think about being tired. It is not a character flaw. It is not a caffeine deficiency. It's a signal. It's your body trying to tell you something important. The only question is, are you ready to stop and listen?